early, Court. Early.
We are early. 1 minute.
1 minute. If you're not 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late, as they used to say in the old country.
They did say that. Even though you don't know what old country that was
I
from.
don't. Hey, what's going on, JJ Hennings? TNT.
What's up?
JD. Mr. Barnett. Pull my card. It's just the who's who of hobby participants.
Absolutely.
Sam Courtney, Goat Squad.
Hey, long time no see.
See, when you're Dixon's Cards, you command an audience.
An audience.
How's everybody doing tonight? What's going on?
Hello.
504, young man, handsome young man. How are you doing tonight?
We're a little early. So we're just hanging out, seeing what everyone's up to. Hey, Rookie Central. Man, a lot of the OGs on tonight.
Yep.
I like to see it.
All the others talk about Champagne Poppy or whatever the hell his name is. The OG. The only Drake in the hobby that you need to know.
Drake's PC.
Drake's PC. I'm glad that you figured out. Drake, how are you, sir? I think they've got some Twitter spillover tonight, and I'm actually kind of interested to talk about that. Yeah, they did. Yo, what up? Dixon's Cards. Dixon's Cards. This is beautiful.
All right, the gang's all here.
It is.
So
why don't we give an intro, Court, of like what Hobby Night School is, because I do think that we have a fair amount, of people who are not regulars on Instagram, and Twitter's a whole different beast, and we'll probably talk about that tonight.
Yeah. So basically, what we do is every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we get on and we invite people who really know some stuff about the hobby. They specifically have like a niche, or they know like more than we do about, a certain topic, and we get them on to help educate us, and then anyone who's following us and wants to jump on and watch. This is Instagram.
Don't get distracted by the words, Court. I'll read it and I'll respond accordingly.
So, we also share these to YouTube. So if you don't like to jump on Instagram a lot, you can see them on YouTube as well. We've done things as simple as how do you insure your cards, to how do you do it, what is Discord and how can you sell on Discord, eBay sales and what's the best tactic for doing that. We've been all over the place with it, and we have a ton lined up for the future. And tonight we're going to be doing stack sales with Dixon's Cards from Twitter. Yeah, so the hobby can be, the genesis of this came is the hobby can be an intimidating place. There's a lot of people who are relatively new. There's a lot of people who have different sorts of experiences, and when we came in, we weren't sure to reach out, who we could talk to when we had questions, and sometimes there's some people that play in a different sandbox and aren't the most friendly. So the thought of this is to get on, have a fun, lighthearted conversation, enjoy the hobby, you know what I mean, and then also educate and bring the hobby up as a whole. So I'm really excited to have Dixon's Cards on. I think they're on. They just got to hit that little invite button. Might take a few minutes because these are Twitter folks. Yeah, they're not super used to. We just had Drake. We just had Drake on. Yeah, card porn was a couple weeks late on the Drake thing. We were out in front with Drake. Yeah, we already had Drake. We know what's up. Had many a late night at the Hyatt in Chicago at National with Mr. Drake. So, Mr. Dixon wants to hit the. They are. They really are. They are. They're. I love them, and I'm excited because a lot of people didn't know what they were. So right now we're just waiting for the little invite. Can you invite him, or do they have to invite themselves? There it is. Good job. Bam. I was going to try to invite him, but it's a brave new frontier for him. It is. It really is. Yeah, Twitter's a beast. It was there. I think it might have disappeared. There he is. Yeah, there he is. Hello.
All right, what's up, y'all?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. It did take me a second to figure it out. I've never done this before, so.
You're like a bad guy in Batman. You're sideways.
Am I?
There you go. Now you're right side up.
All right. Cool.
So typically, I don't know how much of that you caught. What we do is we love the hobby.
Yeah, I got it all.
Okay. And so I'm incredibly grateful for you to venture out of Twitter, where you have a very significant following to come over here to Instagram, because I know these are completely two different places, two different cultures of people, and I'm old. I'm not a young man like you. I'm old, and social media and technology beat me up. And I came across Dixon's Cards. I was browsing one day, and I'm not sure if it was like somebody like Gary V or somebody prominent was following him, and he was posting cards.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'm interested in this card. How do I buy it? And I saw this thing stack sale. I'm like, what the heck is this? And I think we sent a couple of messages. He explained it to me like I was a 3-year-old. I still didn't get it. He explained it to me like I was a 2-year-old. And then I finally grasped it. So like maybe once or twice a month, I send large sums of money to him.
Lots of money.
We don't pay our bills.
No.
But then I get a package of cards. And
Yes.
I'm very happy. But we really appreciate you jumping on. We sent you some questions. It's a light, casual conversation. And it's recently we've done selling on eBay, selling on Discord, selling on MySlabs, all these different ways. And one thing that Instagram that was unanimous, we ran a poll, is nobody knows what stack sales are. And I found
All right, cool.
buy cards in bulk easily and not have to do 100 little transactions. You can build up the amount of cards. And so we'll let you answer that, because I'm sure I'm doing it a disservice.
You can start talking anytime.
Yeah, all right, I'm going to shut up. Courtney, please.
So, Robert, do you prefer Rob or Robert or? Robert. Okay,
Yeah.
so
He's like Mr. Dixon.
Mr. Dixon. Why don't you
Come on,
just
yeah.
like introduce yourself to everyone and sort of talk about how you got into the hobby for a minute?
Okay, cool. Yeah, my name's Robert Dixon, and I've been in this hobby my whole life, and I started. I've been collecting cards as long as I can remember, and I started trying to get into. I always loved the entrepreneurial side of it, and I tried to get into it. I mean, the first time was whenever I was 7 years old. It was 1987, and I had set up this table in my apartment complex with 1987 Topps baseball and Garbage Pail Kids, and I had a sign that said 1 for a dime, 2 for a quarter. So I was never very good at this, man. So, but anyway, I've been collecting my whole life. I love the hobby. And, over the years, I tried all kinds of different things to try to be able to get in the game a little bit and turn a profit and be able to build up my collection that way. And eventually I got into Twitter and doing stack sales, and yeah, I love it.
That's awesome.
So for the people who are jumping on, what exactly is a stack sale? What would be the proper definition, or how would you define what a stack sale is?
Okay, the way that stack sales work is me or another seller, we would, well, the way it works with my sales is I post cards on a regular basis, every day, every other day, at least a few times a week. And potential buyers, if somebody wants to buy the card, then all they have to do is claim it. And the way that it works is they just comment on the post and say, I'll take that card or something like that. Any way to get the communication across. And then we keep track of that for the buyer. We send them updates, and then at an agreed on time, they pay the bill and we ship all the cards at one time. So it's sort of the first thing that I was exposed to that was like that is like ComC. ComC, you can do that. You can have all your cards shipped to you at one time. Some of the differences are with ComC, you put the money in up front. It takes like a month or 2 months to get your card shipped to you. And with doing it on Twitter, we have the direct one-to-one communication. So, but it's a similar concept to ComC.
That makes sense.
I love it too, because I think the thing I found was, hey, I see a card that I like, and it's like maybe a $5 or $10 card, and you don't want to stop your day to make that one single transaction. So in the past, there would be cards that I just wouldn't buy because quite frankly, I don't have the time. It's nice, and you claim it, and then whatever the time frame is, once a month, once every couple of weeks, all of a sudden that 1 or 2 cards is built into 10, 15, 20, 30 cards, and it's one transaction.
Dixon's Cards handle is Dixon's Cards on Twitter, correct?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So Dixon's Cards, and I will when we post this on YouTube, I'll link all of his stuff there as well.
Cool.
So yeah, that makes sense to me. I had never even heard of a stack sale until Jeremy started buying cards from you, and then I was like, wow, this is intriguing. I was curious as to how it worked on your end. Do you have a criteria? Someone's asking like the down payment before you can stack. Like, what's the criteria for someone claiming? Do you just let anyone claim? What if they don't pay? You know, do you have like, is it like the longer you've been buying from you, you can like hold your cards longer, or how does that work?
Okay, I can go through that real quick. The way that works is when somebody becomes a customer for the first time, they can claim cards without putting any sort of down payment down. But when when their stack total gets to $50 the first time, then I ask them for a $25 deposit. I ask them to give me half of their stack total. And then at the end of each month, we send out the bill, essentially. It's not the end of the calendar month. It's 31 days from the time that a customer claims their first card. So they would get sort of like an invoice that says, here's the list of cards that you bought, and it's detailed. Here's like every card and what it cost and what shipping cost and whatnot. And then at that point, the customer squares up, or they can, you know, sometimes people just want to pay half or pay a little bit towards it, and I'll hold it for them. I'll hold cards for people for months sometimes. It doesn't matter to me. And then once we've done business the first time and we have a relationship, then it's wide open after that. I mean, I've held cards for people for several months, and what would be, you know, a pretty good amount of well, some pretty big stacks, you know, that where I'm kind of sitting on a lot of money in cards sometimes, you know, but it's just part of the deal. It's like a little bit of the trade-off. I know that I get sales that other people wouldn't get because the buyers can claim cards and not have to pay for them right then. Like Jeremy was talking about, you don't have to stop your day and shut everything down. With that, for that trade-off, sometimes I'm going to sit on cards for, you know, right now I've got about 3,200 cards that people have claimed in stack sales that haven't been paid for and shipped out. But I've been doing this for 2 years straight, and the rate of non-paying stackers is something in the neighborhood of 2%. It's very, very low.
That's fantastic.
Very low.
And I would say,
Yep.
you know, speaking on behalf of Mr. Dixon, is oftentimes when he posts something, it goes like that. And the first few times I was like, hey, at Dixon's Cards, I would like to claim this card. People just put like letters and that's it. And it's like, you're late.
Yeah,
They're like piranhas. If you ever see piranhas,
Yes.
that's how it is.
Yes. So that's cool when you're posting and you know you have like sales. So when you talk about how you're sitting on, you know, tons of cards, where do you get your inventory to keep these sales going all of this time?
To be honest with you, that's where the most skill comes in, as far as I'm concerned. You know, anybody, if you have cards and the cards are in reasonable demand and you've got them priced at about comps, the cards are going to sell themselves. So selling cards is no big deal. For me, it's getting the new inventory that's a constant. I mean, I spend more time buying than I do selling, because it's not like I can just buy shoe boxes of random cards from people. You know, the niche with my stack sales is cards in about the $5 to $25 range. Those are the ones that do the best. And I sell cards less and more expensive than that, but those are the ones that I really target. Cards that a lot of collectors like. And, you know, I get my inventory from, a lot of it I get now from relationships that I've made over time with dealers that buy collections and they're really just targeting the key bigger cards.
Right.
And there might be some left over, and they know what I like, you know, and they'll work something out with me. When that's not happening, I'm beating the bushes. I'm on forums, on eBay, whatever, man, just wherever I can get them. Like I said, I have to spend more time buying than I do selling. On average, we move about 1,000 cards a month, and you know, that's a lot of cards to try to buy. So,
how do you keep track of all the stats then? Do you have spreadsheets? How do you keep track of that?
Yeah, so I use Google Sheets, and I love Google Sheets because, I mean, it's essentially like a web-based software program. Once we kind of got up and going, I got up with this website called Fiverr, and they have like you can pay per a project for like an engineer, and I had this software engineer hook me up with a custom spreadsheet that on Google Sheets that was exactly what we needed. And we essentially just built a database. So the way that we keep track is whenever I buy cards, I add them to this database. And every card gets assigned a number that we use for tracking. And then when the cards come in, they all get scanned, and the scan gets saved with a file name that matches the number that's on the spreadsheet. And then I use Beckett Shields. I'll show you. I like Beckett Shields because they've got the little white strip on there.
Yep.
And then we write the number right on the strip that corresponds with the spreadsheet and corresponds with the image that's saved. So the reason why that works so well for me is because once we have those images scanned and the spreadsheet is on Google Sheets, the images we save to Microsoft OneDrive. And essentially, I've got all my inventory at my fingertips. You know, it's on my phone, it's on my work computer, on my home computer, because I'm a full-time employee, you know, and a father and a husband, and I don't really have a lot of time to set up. You know, I'm going to be here doing this from this time to this time. Sometimes it's just like 15 minutes in the middle of the workday. I get a break and I'll throw a few cards on, and you know that's how we do it. Like most of the tracking is up front, and then that same document that we use whenever people claim cards, we just add their name to it.
Perfect.
And that's it. And from there, you know, like I said, we hired this software group that helped us to be able to make these quick reports with, you know, just a drop down that has all of our customers' names, and then it pulls up a list of all their cards and prices and all. So
that was very
yeah,
smart on the front end.
Yeah, I think you've said us a few times, and one thing that I thought was appealing is I believe it's just all family. I don't know if it's your kids, it's your wife, or whomever. But when you say us, are you referring to family members?
Yeah. So I do this with my 15-year-old son and my 17-year-old daughter, and my wife, you know, she puts up with it, man, and I give her tons of credit. Like there's stuff everywhere, and sometimes, you know, she'll spend the whole day Saturday just looking at the back of my head because I'm just on the computer working, you know, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, I do it with the kids, man. My daughter handles all the shipping, and she sends out invoices to everybody every weekend. Anybody that's been in my stack sales, you know, you get an invoice every weekend. It's itemized, and man, it's such a big help having her do all the shipping. And then my son takes care of all the scanning and spreadsheet work on the front end.
JB Barnett wants to know, how do you go about comping the cards, you know, and determining how you're going to sell them at what price point?
I mean, I pretty much comp cards just like everybody else does. You know, I use Card Ladder, eBay. On the real low end stuff, let's say $2, $3, $4 cards. If I really need to get a comp, I'll go to CompC and just see what I can pick it up from them for. To be honest, like 90% of the cards that I deal in, I've had several copies of them over time, and I just pretty much know what they go for, man. So I don't spend, when I'm getting ready to do a sale, I'm not sitting there going through and looking at today's comps on every $7 Jason Tatum card that I have. I just throw it up.
Yeah, Springs, I'll let Mr. Dixon speak for himself, but I think in my experience, anytime I've paid, if I had a show coming up or there was a card that I claimed that I really, really wanted, like the Jordan Gold StarQuest for Court, when I pay, the cards are usually shipped, you know, within a day or two. I don't think you have to wait a certain duration. Wants to know if they have to wait a certain period of time or if they pay, they can get their cards immediately.
Yeah, man. Whenever people pay, we ship that day. We package the cards up and send tracking that day, and we take them to the post office the next day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so
that's part of it.
You didn't have to stack
that
it.
part of it.
If there was a card that you wanted, you could just buy that card, and that's it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I've been following.
That part of it's really important to me, man, because I'm being a collector. I hate waiting on my cards to come in the mail. I hate it, man. Like I want them right now.
We are the same. We ship next day or same day. If you buy it in the morning, we'll ship it that afternoon for you. So we get it.
We were breaking on Whatnot last night. I think we wrapped up like maybe a little bit before midnight, and we did not leave until every card was sorted, packaged, and then dropped off at the post office first morning because people are spending their hard-earned dollars. They want their cards, and we're collectors first. So we operate through the lens of being a collector. Like, how would we want to be if the roles were reversed?
Right. And I saw someone ask, when you post up cards, if there's like a flaw or something on it that you know is there, do you make that known to people?
Yeah, sure. one of the things that we talk about up front, it's on the sort of what we call the stack sale rules or whatever that's on our website, that, it kind of goes through the condition that you can expect and what our guarantee is. Our guarantee, first of all, is that if you get a card and you look at the card and say, man, I wouldn't have bought this card if I knew about this, then we'll refund you. There's no question asked, man. We'll make it right. I've only had that happen about 5 or 6 times. Most of the time, if there's a flaw, I'll make it known and drop the price way down, to be honest. If it's a $20 card, it's like $5, man, this corner's messed up or whatever, and just try to give it away. Or, we just have freebie bags that we throw in with a lot of our cards our stacks that people buy. We just throw it in with the freebies or whatever. So, we don't, I don't grade cards, so I don't look at them for grading. But we also don't guarantee that the cards are going to be 10s or 9s. We just guarantee that they're not going to have obvious flaws that you didn't know about whenever you bought it.
Right. Well, and that's reasonable. You can't. Here's the thing: if you're buying raw cards, that's a risk, in my opinion, that you're taking at that point. Like, if you want a perfect gem card, you should probably buy a graded card.
So you're moving, let's say, 1,000 cards a month on average. Do you only sell via stack sales, or do you utilize any other platforms? I know you referenced ComC, which means, I would, at some point, I'm sure you sold through that platform. Talk about what other platforms you use and why you gravitate towards Twitter and stack sales.
Okay, so I do a little bit of sales on eBay. The reason why is because I'll end up with cards that are a little bit more expensive or a little bit niche for my following on Twitter. So an example would be like a first Bowman Chrome auto of a prospect that plays for the Cleveland Indians. If I don't have any followers that care about the Indians and that have a stack with me right now, that might be a tough card to move because it's not like it's $5, So I'll put them on eBay. When I get graded inventory, which I don't get a ton of, but I might get like 50 graded cards a month. If I get hung up with them for any period, if they don't move right away in my stack sales, most of the time they do, but if they don't, I'll use MySlabs. I would say that between MySlabs and eBay, I sell about 5 cards a month total. I use almost exclusively Twitter.
Manny, I think turning on notifications is critical. I've picked up a lot of stuff that you see at one point was in his hands, and I find it a great way. Same thing. Oftentimes, it'll be like a Starbucks in the morning, and he's just randomly selling, post up 10 cards at like 7 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, or hell, he'll be like, hey, I'm going to sell some cards. He sells 2, and then he's like, Mama said I got to go mow the lawn or do something, and it's cut short. So
it makes me laugh too because I never go on Twitter. Twitter is like, if you're on Twitter, you're like 99.999% dealing with Jeremy. And then when you were talking about coming on tonight, that was me because I do all the setup for the Hobby Night School. So I'm like, I wonder if you can tell the difference between the way that we message. But I don't know. I didn't know anything about stack sales, so I was really excited for tonight because we always have cards showing up from Dixon's that I've never seen before. They just show up at my house, and I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't know this was coming.
So logistically, I've seen the way you've run the sales has changed quite a bit over maybe the 1 to 2 years that you've been doing it. For a while, it was almost like a tic-tac-toe grid, like A1, A2, A3. Talk about that process, because there's a lot of misconception that, somebody might see, hey, he's moving 1,000 cards, this is easy. And I'm sure it's not. I think you and me messaged a little bit when we did our first Discord fire sale. We were like, oh, this is awesome. We just sold a bunch of cards. And then when we got into the actual logistics of it and making it happen, it was hard work and it was a damn nightmare. So I'm sure some of the successes that you have right now are as a result of many days, months, weeks, years of tinkering and building a system that works for you.
Oh, no doubt, man. No doubt. But I love doing that. And the kids are really cool with it too. They're always trying to come up with ideas where we can be more efficient. I love trying to find ways to do it a little bit better, man, because, we only have so much time and we want to do the best that we can with the time that we got. So that part of it's really important. It has been, and it's constantly changing. The first time we did a stack sale, I saw some other people doing it, and I was like, man, let's try this. Maybe we can move. You know, I had some just rows of boxes of cards that weren't even like, they were like quarter cards and 50-cent cards that maybe somebody would want, but I wasn't sure. And I had like 150 followers. We got this piece of plywood and we wrote letters and numbers on it to help people like pick out the cards that they would want. And we posted 190 lots of 10 cards per. So 1,900 cards, and like something like 1,000 of them sold. And they were all like a quarter, 50 cents, and I couldn't believe it. But we had no plan. Like, we didn't know how to keep track of that. Like, now what? You know, now we got 72 packages we got to ship out of 1,000 cards, and I didn't even know how to go about like telling people how much they owed us or anything, you know. So yeah, I think we've kind of lately have seemed to have really hit our stride, you know, and settled into something that seems pretty sustainable, and it's the improvements are further apart. But for a while, man, it was constant. It's one of those things, man. You just have to get in there and do it, and see where your deficiencies are and where you can get better.
So Barnett asked a question talking about interaction and gaining followers. I think you're probably right around 10,000 people, give or take a few hundred on Twitter. I'm sure it wasn't always that way. How did that following get built as a result of just posting cards and just interacting with people, or was it happy customers that retweeted it? And like, how did you build your following on Twitter?
Well, some of it was that, but some of it was actually very strategic, man. So it's not very complicated though. I got this app that would help you delete people that you follow that don't follow you. Okay, and then I went on to other people's accounts that were doing the same thing that I wanted to do, or people that were just generally card accounts, you know, and I just followed their followers. And you know, you can pull up a list of other people's followers and you can go through, you can follow like 50 at a time, and then Twitter shuts you down and says, okay, that's all you can do for an hour. And then I stop and I come back 2 hours later and I do another 50. And I do that for a week. And out of those 50, you know, maybe 15, 20 of those people would follow me back. And after once a week or so, I pull out that app and I'd sit there for 4 hours and unfollow everybody that didn't follow me. And then I'd start over. I'd start following those same people again and new people again. I mean, honestly, you know, some of the following that we have was organic by just posting cards and chatting about cards and stuff. But I would say a good portion of it was done that way, strategically, to try to get more followers faster.
So we're probably going to bounce around a little bit. This question is coming up a lot. People are talking about the actual shipping process, postage, and what are you using? Do you use a label maker? Do you use a printer? If you could go into a little bit of detail, you don't have to give away any secrets, but what does that process look like for Dixon's Cards?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we use kind of like everybody else. I mean, we use bubble millers, bubble bags, boxes. We also sell supplies, you know, so whenever you get your cards, if you want to throw some one-touches or some top loaders, some penny sleeves in there. I showed you guys the Becky shields that we use to put our cards in when we get them. Those are huge for shipping. They're huge, man. You don't really have to use any tape or anything. You can drop a few of those in a bubble bag, seal that up. But, you know, we cut up a bunch of cardboard. I bought this thing on Amazon that it's like electric scissors for cutting up little cardboard squares. But I don't think we do anything different than anybody else. The only difference is I got a 17-year-old daughter that is really smart and efficient, and she can sit there and do however many packages it takes every day without losing her shit. You know, I don't like the shipping part of it, man. That part of it wears on me after a few days in a row.
We have like a system too. It's so funny how people who all have their systems, like Jeremy like sorts the cards, I get all the labels, Amelia's cutting the cardboard and putting everything in the packaging. It's so funny. We use PayPal ShipStation, and they'll sort all the different mailing like options that you have, like all the way from UPS to USPS priority. It'll tell you which one you have to use for the weight and size of your package. It'll sort it all out for you. So I like that.
Yeah, we do.
And then we use a Brother printer, which I have a TikTok. Maybe I'll post the TikTok later of like our actual shipping process. But I love that printer. It doesn't need any ink. You just take a screenshot of the shipping label and then you print it right out, and you never have to buy ink. You just buy the tape for it, and it's perfect. So that's what we use.
Yeah. Yeah, I use we use Pirate Ship as the software. I have a similar type of label printer, same type of label printer. It's kind of a little bit of an embarrassing story, but I'll tell it anyway. But whenever I first started doing this, we would print the labels out on 8x10s, and then we would cut them off with scissors and then tape them to the deal.
Yep.
And I knew that I was like, man, I really need to get one of these laser printers, man. But pretty much all the money that I was making was going back into cards, and I had a bunch of cards that I wanted for my collection. And even today, I don't really like spending money on like shipping supplies and stuff. I know it has to be done, but when it's time to actually cut the checks, like, man, I'd rather get this cool Kobe that I saw over here. So I bought this old janky used 1974 label printer, but it works. It's been working actually for 2 years. I don't even know who makes it. It's like yellow. It looks like it was in your great grandpa's house, man. But
Man, if it
that's
works,
what I got.
it works. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome too because I'm like a system and process guy, and so like one day I took the time to figure out like what it actually cost us, like each piece of paper, the amount of ink, the amount of tape, and like so I did the math where it became really easy to go buy a label maker because I knew like in one week of selling it was going to pay for itself. But I think we'd all have like a good laugh if you look back the way we were selling, us and you, like 2 years ago when you first started.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because a lot of people have aspirations of doing more and they don't know where to go. And I think one thing that's consistent is just taking action and getting your hands a little bit dirty and then just learning from those experiences.
Yeah, I agree. It's been, I've tried all the different shipping platforms, Shippo, Pirate Ship, everything. I personally just find it easy to use the PayPal ShipStation just because it's already linked up to my PayPal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy for me. But like, that's the thing. There's so many options and we all have this ability to do what works the best for us, which I think is awesome.
So I know somebody like a Spring Sports Cards who they're very active on Twitter and Instagram. I know that they're sitting on a mountain of cards. And they love the idea of selling, whether it's going to be on Whatnot, Discord fire sales, stack sales. And if I'm them and I'm listening to this conversation, I'm thinking, wow, stack sales seem very appealing. He's moving 1,000 cards a month. Can we draw attention to some of the like potential pitfalls or some of the challenges that people will face getting into this? And I know the one that you said was the 2% of non-payers. I think we'll touch on that. But if you could just talk about some of the things that people need to be aware of if they're going to, venture down that path.
Well, that's a tough question. I would say one of the things that I see a lot of people get hung up on whenever they first start doing stack sales, it's a whole different game if you say, I'm going to do a sale today on this Saturday afternoon, and then whenever the sale's over, everybody pay up and we'll ship your cards. It's a lot easier because you don't have to try to manage like you've got cards going out and new cards coming in all at the same time and trying to keep it going. But sales are drastically different. When you try to do a one-day sale, because just like you were talking about earlier, then it's like, all right, now at the end of this deal, I got to message back and forth. I got to figure out how to pay. I got to make all this happen. And a lot of times people just move on from that. But that's one of the it's one of the easier ways to get started, But that's one of the main things that I see people get hung up on. Also, just not having enough followers, man. I see a lot of people jump into something like stack sales, and I feel for them, man, because I know how much work goes into it. But it's just one thing that they didn't think about. They got 220 followers, and you put a bunch of cards for sale, and out of those 220, like, what are we talking about? 80 of them are online today, and 5 of them are in the mood to buy a few cards. Like, it's just not a. You have to get the following first. You really do. I think.
Have you all dialed in, or because you sell it any given time, and it's I love it when I just so happen to be on Twitter. I'm always like super annoyed when I miss out something that I would have claimed and 50 people claimed it before me. Have you found a time of day where you get the most response, or on any given day it could just be there is no rhyme or reason, big cards just move?
That's a good question. The actual single best day and time for my sales is Saturday morning around 8 or 9 a.m. And it's that Saturday morning like cartoon time. But if you can think about how your life goes, and most of our lives go, Monday through Friday, whatever, we're working. And then Saturday morning, man, everybody's up and they're drinking some coffee and they're talking, they're thinking about getting their day going. And what I found is that, man, a whole lot of my customers are online at that time. And I don't always, I can't always do it or don't always feel like it. But when I do, that's like the very best time, man. I don't know. I was really surprised whenever I found out, because I posted cards in the middle of the day, in the middle of the night, just whatever, man. Because I always think if somebody doesn't claim them right away, people will see them later or whatever, and that happens a lot of times. But yeah, I was really surprised to find out about that kind of Saturday morning hotspot. I shouldn't be telling all my other stack selling buddies out there, man, because everybody else is sleeping in, I think. But share a little bit.
Here's a question that I just keep thinking of randomly, and I'm gonna forget to ask it. You say you sell 1,000 cards a month. How do you? So I picture all the cards like when we have stuff on eBay or when we do our whatnot sales, and like the organization that we have to like keep track of. Like we have people who for a while like they would win stuff and we would ship a card to get it graded for them or whatever. So like to keep track of each individual card and who they belong to, and these ones are sold and these ones haven't been processed or scanned. Do you like the organization it must take to like have your new inventory coming out, have everything separated, especially if you have multiple of the same card for like different people? Talk a little bit about how you like don't go crazy, because I feel like I would go crazy.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about what we were talking about earlier. It took a bunch of trial and error. But what I have right now is 2 row boxes that are big enough to hold graded cards. And I use the Beckett Shields that have the white label, so I can write a number on the card. And I've got just a garage size 8-foot table full of these things. And the cards are numbered 1 through whatever. They're in numerical order. Some of the cards have been sold, some of them haven't been sold. That's all kept on that can all be found on the spreadsheet that I use. So I can go to the spreadsheet and see what cards are available of any given player or whatever. And then when somebody pays, their inventory slip that we pull their cards from has all of those numbers on there. So when somebody pays it, even if it's been 2 months since they started their stack, I haven't been separating the cards for them for the whole 2 months. They're just in with everything else. So we get this list, and it's card number 432 and card number 1679 and card number 3245, whatever, and we just go through, they're in numerical order and pull them that way.
That makes perfect sense.
So when you're processing cards, taking them in, are you scanning them or taking pictures also on the front end, and everything's just cataloged, and that way when you decide, hey, I'm going to sell right now, you have all that readily available on a computer or a cell phone?
Yeah, that's how we do it, man. I put them on the spreadsheet actually before they even get here. Whenever I purchase them, I add them to the database. That way it's just quicker. And whenever they get here, I got a box that I stick them in that my son checks every day, see if there's new cards in there. And then, the first thing he does is take them out of whatever kind of old nasty top loaders and penny sleeves they're in, check them for defects. And then he scans them all and catalogs them all with corresponding numbers that are on the spreadsheet and on the Beckett Shield. So yeah, we do that. We do all that on the front, and then I can access my inventory from any phone or computer and post anytime I want.
That's awesome.
I can do it. I can do it right now.
One thing that I find like just that I absolutely love, and this is like remove the hobby from it, is as parents, we've got 2 teenagers and 2 little ones, and I know Mom would totally agree with this. We absolutely love that, we can actually spend time together as a family doing something that we all enjoy. Like maybe the boy might be more interested in like looking at football cards. Amelia's more interested in the business side of it, but we get to spend some quality time together as a family, and I feel a hell of a lot better when my kids are at home with me, listening to me curse, as opposed to off being wherever doing God knows what. But we get to enjoy that time together. And so like, I'm always grateful to the hobby or for this thing that we all love to do that brings us together. And so I think that's awesome that you're teaching your kids skills that'll be utilized elsewhere down the road if it's not in a hobby. And meanwhile, you get to build a PC and get better cards that you like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, that part of it's been great. It is kind of like you said, my son, he's into cards. He loves it. My daughter, not so much, man. She just, it's just more or less a job for her, but there is a lot of things that I can teach them or try to teach them just how to treat people, man, how to do business, how to talk to people, how to respond to people. Like one of the things about having right now, we have like 150 stacks open. You know, if you got 100, for me, if I have 150 open stacks, that means I'm going to get like 35 DMs a day, you know, and sometimes, man, they're a little bit needy, and sometimes I'm not in the mood, man, and I could, you know, it gives me an
I can
opportunity.
relate to that so much.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I would
So
say
it gives me a chance to work with them on that. Also, you know, for my son, little known fact, but I fired that dude like 4 times, man. So he got to learn what it's like to get fired, and I always hired him back, you know. But that was
He's
fun.
been fired so
We
many
joke,
times. So many
we
times.
joke about that all the time.
My mom fired me from my first job too. So like,
Yeah.
that's how you teach
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, no, there's been we've let Steven go a couple of times. You know, the old you're not cutting it, or you're cutting that cardboard like
Yep.
crap, or what are you doing? You know, I'm paying you to do something. This is not the way it works. You don't half-ass it. You know what I mean? These are somebody's cards, so that's funny.
So Eric here thinks you should write and sell stack sales for dummies, and I agree.
There you go, the first hobby book.
Well, yeah, that'd be
I
good.
used to, you know, early on, when I first started doing this, I started a blog on my website, and I would write blogs about stack sales. And I wish I would have saved that stuff, because it was like as I was kind of learning and figuring it out, but I was trying to, you know, just pass some of that stuff on and share it with other people. I just thought it was the most amazing thing, man. I still do.
I think
because-
this has been incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always tried to get into dealing cards in some way. I never had like dreams of being a big time like card dealer, but I always wanted to have like an eBay store that was successful, or be able to sell just something, man. And like, I don't know, it's hard, man. It's really hard to do anything. Like, you're just gonna pick up a cell phone and a laptop and start making a profit. It's hard, man. Like, and I tried a lot of different things over a long period of time, man, and just none of it worked. And when I found this deal, I was like, oh, I can't believe it works. You know, the first time when we started doing it, I was selling all these quarter cards, you know, and I would work like 30 hours over a weekend. And at the end of the weekend, I made like $45 profit. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, $45 profit.
Yes.
I just couldn't believe that you could turn over that kind. Like, it wasn't even about. It's not about the money, you know. It's just the game. It's like, wow, man, you can just like make a little business off of the thing that I love my whole life, you know. It's just the game. So yeah, I love it. Love it.
That's so refreshing to hear, because everywhere we go on social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you're bombarded with 20,000, 50,000, 6-figure cards. And quite frankly, that's a sandbox that we don't personally play in. We don't have the money to play there. And we tried doing a fire sale, and it was the same thing. It was, you know, 50-cent cards to like maybe $10 cards. And then we found that there's a lot of people that are in that same space as us. And it was so much fun to try something, to come up with a plan. You know, obviously we look back and we made lots of mistakes, but when it works or you have small successes, who cares if you made $1 or $50? Like, the amount of pride that you feel that you were able to not only make money to go towards other cards, but you were able to add to somebody else's collection and enrich what they have, I think is awesome. And I'll add this, and then I want to get your feedback on it, is we look at cards, we try to buy in bulk as much as possible. We like to give stuff away, and we like to be able to sell below comps. Not always, but below, because that way when somebody purchases a card, they're feeling good that they got a deal. When you're buying in bulk like you do I'm assuming, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you don't get hung up on, hey, this is a $1 card, I need to get $1 out of. If it's not moving, I'm sure I see you quickly drop prices if a card sits, which it doesn't happen, to 50 cents. Can you talk about a little bit, like, you don't have to go into too much detail, but like on the finance side, the way you look at it when you're buying that amount of cards?
Yeah. So I'm on house money, man. I've been in the black for a long time doing this deal. So you know, if I buy a lot and I turn around and I lose a little bit of money on it, I just don't even keep track of it down to that detail. You know, I look at the financial part of it like once every couple weeks or a month and see if I'm just make sure I'm just not really losing it. You know, like really just wasting my time losing my ass. But otherwise, man, I'm just trying to turn them over. I really believe that in this business and probably a lot of other businesses, like you make your money whenever you buy. You know, so if I know that I'm buying for a good price, then I don't have to worry about trying to squeeze every dollar I can get out of every card that I sell. You know, I can let them go for comps. I can let some go for less than comps. I can give some away, whatever, you know, and I'm gonna come out okay, you know, at least.
I find that very refreshing. A lot of people get hung up on the micro versus macro, where it's like I paid $2, I'm going to kill myself to get $2. Where really, if you just spent that $1.50 and then, like you said, you make your money on the purchasing, it's all good. And I think there's a lot of people that get hung up on a quarter here, a quarter there. And if you just look at it as a whole, I think it would be really great.
So someone asked about what's your shipping rate? Do you have like you have to pay for a bubble mailer no matter if you have a $1 stack or a $500 stack? What someone's asking about plain white. Like we personally, I won't ship cards in plain white envelopes. So to me, it would be worth it for you to buy a few more cards to make your stack worth paying for the bubble mailer with tracking.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your opinion on that? Because that was something
we do plain envelope shipping. I love it actually. I've done thousands of transactions through plain envelopes over the years. Before I ever got into doing this, one of my favorite things that I used to like to do was do trades, you know, and I found this cool like old time forums, you know, and I'd go like on a Saturday morning and buy a blaster of whatever. And I would sit there and type every number and card and team, and I'd post it to this website, and we would do trades. And almost all of them were plain envelope, because it'd be like some random Gypsy Queen card that you need for a team set, you know. And I just got a lot of confidence in it. So we do it all the time. We do, you know, of course you can't do any kind of real thick like game use cards or anything, but just standard size cards. If the order is less than 6 cards and less than $20. So if somebody hops on and they end up buying 4 cards that are $1 a piece or whatever, then we'll do plain envelope shipping. We charge $1.50. It's like $1 more than what it costs to ship, because it's a pain to fill out the envelope. So we charge $1 more. I just hate it. I came up with that because I was doing it back then, and I was like, I hate doing this. I'm charging them more so I can get through it.
There you go. I have gotten to the point I used to when we first started selling, like back in the day, and we would sell like cheap ones. My friend gave me a tip, and I thought it was brilliant. I would go after Christmas and buy boxes of like Christmas cards that were like you know, on clearance because nobody wanted them, and I would put the card you know, in a top loader, and then I put it in a Christmas card because it costs the same to mail a Christmas card as it does like a plain white envelope, but then they don't bend as easy. So I would ship our cards in old Christmas cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard of people doing that before, and actually this last year I asked my wife to be on the lookout, but she never saw any, so we didn't get a chance to try that. I think it's a great idea. I would definitely give it a try. We always have to just get like a piece of paper and tri-fold it and tape the cards. We ship everything in Becky Shield, so if somebody buys one card, we might have to add a couple freebies in there just to stiffen it up a little bit. But
thank you for the Dollar Tree. Yeah, the Christmas cards were super cheap because like if you buy them like December 27th, you could buy like a case of them for $1. And
yeah, that'd be cool.
So cheap.
So there's a couple people. Spring Sports Cards said, "Hey, I'm Will Springs on Twitter. I've been wanting to be a customer for a long time. I will be after tonight." Springs, you cannot go wrong. A lot of those cards you buy from me. If you go right to Mr. Dixon, you're cutting out the middleman. So Hobby Night School is backfiring on Reckless Cards over here. I love it. One thing that I'm incredibly proud of, and I mean this in all sincerity, is like I said, I'm not a social media guy. And after we started doing some deals, I was invited to be part of like a private chat with Dixon Sports Cards. And still to this day, I don't know who any of the people are. I conduct myself in the most professional manner. I'm always incredibly complimentary, but I get like first dibs on, hey guys, this is kind of some of the stuff that I have that's going to be available. Do you want it? And now that is the true bloodbath when it comes to getting cards. It is like take, and then somebody's like, "Oh, I wanted that card," and I feel like a complete ass. Like, no, I've taken enough. Please share. But on a side note, I am incredibly grateful to be a part of that group. It's awesome, and I see, he spends a lot of time trying to share information or educate people. I know one thing the other day was talking about utilizing sales history on Card Ladder and how that's been, and that's not a plug for Card Ladder. You can use any platform. But I just think it's an incredible group of people because Twitter is a lot different than Instagram. I see the difference, but specifically the Friends of Dixon's Card Chat is an awesome spot where there's even if you're just perusing and just, lurking in the background reading, there's a lot of awesome information. I learn a lot.
I have to tell you, I just like the stuff that he comes back with and talking about Dixon's Cards, nothing but great, tremendously positive feedback. So
yeah, and now
That's cool.
Our house is, anytime we pull Astros cards, I'm like, oh, you can just throw that off. I'm going to send that over to Dixon. We don't need those. We don't need those sorts of players in our house.
Yeah, anybody that's ever paid consecutive mortgage payments for me by their stacks gets invited to that group. So, Jordan's in. No, that's a lot of fun, man. That was kind of a byproduct. I didn't, I've been collecting cards my whole life, but was never really part of any kind of card collecting community before, And when I started doing this deal and, just started meeting some people, and inevitably you end up chatting via DM for different reasons, and have made some really cool contacts, man, and some good friends, Sometimes, we get into stuff that's got nothing to do with cards, man. It's just life, and it's a good time. But most of the time, we're just chatting about the thing that we all agree on, that we all care about, So it's fun.
So I have a really good question for you, and this is something that we get a lot because we make it known that we do buy a lot of cards, and so we get constantly people messaging me, and because we're on multiple platforms, I get messages on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, our email, the website. We have these lots. Do you have people just bombarding you all the time trying to get you to buy their cards?
I do, but I have a very specific reply that, lists exactly what cards I buy and exactly what I'm willing to pay and what the next step would be for them if they were interested in going forward and if they think that we have a match, So, yeah, and I love it. I need to buy cards, man. I really do. I just, these are the cards that I want. This is what I'm looking to pay. And, if you can help me out and you're willing to do some of the work helping me comp them, because I hate when somebody just sends me like 100 cards and a picture, and it's like, what would you give me for these? I don't know, man. What are they worth? I don't know.
$0 for your picture.
Yeah. How about you just gave me like an hour homework assignment, and I don't even know if we're even on the same page, So yeah, I understand.
When you comp them all out, and you're like, okay, well, they're worth this much, and I have to be able to resell. You're selling them to me as a reseller, so I need to sell them for this much. So I'll give you this much, and they're like, no, I want 20% over comps for these. And you're like, why are you messaging?
Yeah.
So one thing we want to do, and I believe in Dixon's Cards wholeheartedly. I remember I think it was maybe after a little bit of a dip, there was a couple of people that flaked out and didn't pay for their stacks. And I believe so much in this. I volunteered that, like, hey, I don't care what cards are in the stack, what prices they agreed to. I will pay for it because this has just been an awesome way for us to buy cards. Plus, I don't want people that I've brought into the hobby having a soured experience, or somebody like you just, saying to hell with it. I work my ass off Monday through Friday. Why am I going to continue to do this? I'm not. We want people to come check out Dixon's Cards on Twitter. So what we want to do is if you have a pen and paper readily available?
Yep.
If you could write what's going on in Cage Hope you're feeling better. If you could write a number 1 through 20, we're going to say go. And when you see the number on your end, minute we're done, I'm going to send you $25. And then somebody can have a $25 credit towards one of your stacks or building a stack with Dixon's cards.
Sweet, man. Thanks. I'm ready.
All right, guys. 1 through 20, the first person to guess it will get a $25 credit with Dixon's cards.
So just
And then you'll be hooked. It's
Yeah.
like you'll be chasing that high every
so
time.
in the comments are 1 through 20, and whatever Robert sees first, whoever number on his end comes up first, that's the winner.
All right. There you go, Cage.
This is bad, y'all. I don't see any comments coming up. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, or
All
I'm
right.
just not used to Instagram.
I'll start them. So we had 8, 16, 16, 13, 19, 8, 12, 11. Keep them coming, guys.
7, 20,
Jinx, this is fun.
1. There you go, Manny. Let's run it, Manny. Just run it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 6,
6.
6.
504 person.
So 504 person. There's the 420 joke. So what we'll do is we'll after this, I will go into the PayPal. Hopefully there's some money in there. We'll send 25. We'll send $25, and then I'll just shoot a group message on Twitter, and that way you can start stacking with Rob, and you'll be addicted like me.
Yep.
Want to thank you for your time, man. I know you're busy. I know it's late. On the side note, congratulations on the promotion at work. I think that's incredibly badass. I know how hard you're working, and this was very informative. And I think it opened the eyes to a lot of Instagram folks of, what's going on over at Twitter, and just another creative way that you can transact in the hobby.
Yeah, I think so too. And maybe I'll start jumping on Twitter more. It seems like it was never my thing, but maybe I will. So.
Live TV, my daughter's crying. I think her boyfriend did something. I'm going to go beat somebody up. So if I'm in jail, you know why. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rob.
Hey, thanks, y'all, man. I know y'all put a lot of work into this, man. I really appreciate it.
No,
It's
thank
great.
you.
Appreciate
Thanks.
you.
Mhm.